The Staff of Moses, Part 1. The Fruits of Beliefs. This is a defense of Risale-i Nur against atheism and absolute disbelief. It is our true defense in this imprisonment of ours, for it is the only things we are working at. The treatise is a fruit and souvenir of, then is the prison and product of 2 Fridays. Said Nursi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate, and languished in prison for a number of years more, according to an inner meaning of this verse, Joseph is the patron of prisoners, and prison is a short of school of Joseph. Since this is the second time the Risale-i Nur students have been sent to prison in large numbers, we should study and teach in the school which has been opened to give this training the belief summaries of number of matters connected with prison that the Risale-i Nur proves, and to benefit from them more thoroughly. We shall explain 5 or 6 of those summaries. The first topic, as is explained in the fourth word, everyday, hours, Sretor bestows on us capital of 24 hours of life so that with it we may obtain all things necessary for our 2 lives. If we spend 23 hours on this fleeting, worldly life and neglected to spend the remaining 1 hour, which is sufficient for the 5 obligatory prayers on the very lengthy life of hereafter, it may be understand what an unreasonable error it is, and what a great loss to suffer distress of the mind and spirit as a penalty for the error, and to behave badly because of distress, and to fail to rectify one's conduct due to living in the state of despair. Indeed, to do opposite, we may make the comprehension. We should think of what profitable ordeal it is if we spend the 1 hour on the 5 obligatory prayers. For each hour of this calamitous term of imprisonment sometimes becomes a day worshipped, and one of its transient hours becomes many permanent hours, and our disappear and distress of the spirit and heart in part disappears, and it is atonement for the mistakes that led to the imprisonment, and is the cause of their being forgiven. We are trained and improved, which is the purpose of imprisonment, so should think of that, and it is being instruction and pleasant and consoling meeting with our companions in disaster, as is explained in the fourth word. It may be understood how contrary it is to persons' interest to give 5 or 10 liars out of these 24 to a lottery in which 1,000 people are taking part in order to win the 1,000 lira prize, and not give a single lira out of 24 hours for a ticket for an everlasting treasures of jewels, and to rush to former and flee from the latter, although the chance of winning the 1,000 liras in the worthless lottery in one in 1,000 because there are 1,000 people taking part. However, in the lottery of man's destiny, which looks to the hereafter, the chance of winning for the people of belief, who experience happy death, is 999 out of thousands. This has been told by 124,000 prophets and confirmed by incalculable numbers of truthful saints and purified scholars as a result of their illuminations. Prison governors and chief warders, and indeed the country's administrators and the guardians of public order, should be grateful and the lesson of the Risale-i Nur for the government and disciplining of the 1,000 believers, who constantly have in mind the prison of hell is far easier than that of the 10 unbelievers who do not perform the obligatory prayers, only think of worldly prisons, do not know what is what is licit and what is illicit, and and are in part accumulated to living in discipline's lives. A summary of the second topic, as is well explained in a guide for youth from the Risale-i Nur, it is as definite and obvious that death will befall as the night will follow today and winter. This autumn, just as this prison is a temporary guest house for those who continues to enter and live it, so the face of the earth is a hostel on the road of swiftly traveling caravans which alight for one night then pass on. Surely that which has emptied all the cities into the graveyard 100 times over has demands greater than life. The Risale-i Nur has solved the riddle of the awesome through and discovered its answer. A short summary is this: since death cannot be killed, nor the door of the grave be closed, if there is a way of being saved from the executioner of the appointed hour and the solitary confinement of the grave, it is a question, an anxiety for man of greater importance than anything. Yes, there is a solution, and through the mystery of the Quran, Risale-i Nur has proved is it as certainly as 2 plus 2 equals 4. A brief summary of it is as follows: death is either eternal annihilation, a gallows on which will be hanged both man and all his friends and relations, or it comprises the release papers to depart for another eternal realm and to enter, with the document of belief, the place of bliss. The grave is either a bottomless pit and dark place of solitary confinement, or it is door opening from the prison of this world onto an eternal, light-filled garden and place of feasting. A guide for youth has proved this through with a comparison. For example, gallows have been set up in the prison yard, and behind the wall immediately beyond them a huge lottery office has been opened. The whole world is taking part in the lottery it is holding. We 500 people in this prison are certain to be someone, one by one, without exceptions, to that arena. To avoid it is not possible. Everywhere announcements are being made. Come and receive your degree of execution and mount the gallows, or receive your note for everlasting solitary confinement and take that door. Or good news for you, the winning ticket worth millions has come up for you. Come and receive it. We see with our own eyes that one after other they are mounting the gallows. We observe that some are being hanged while others are making the gallows a step and moving onto the lottery office beyond the wall, just at point which have knows as though we have been it from the certain information given by the high-ranking officials there. Two groups have entered our prison. The second group are crying instructive writings, licit foods, and blessed drinks. They present them to us and all together say to us with great earnestness, if you take and eat the gifts, that first group have you by way of testing you. You shall be hanged on these gallows before us like the others you have been. But if you accept the gifts we have brought you on the command of this country's ruler instead of them and receive the supplication, believe as though your thing is that each of you shall receive the winning ticket, worth millions in the lottery office as a royal favor. These decrees say, and we ourselves say the same. If you eat those illicit, dubious, and poisonous sweets, you shall suffer terrible pains from the prison until you go to the hanged. Like the comparison for the people of belief and worship, on condition they have happy death, the ticket for an everlasting and inexhaustible treasury will come up from the lottery of man's destiny beyond the gallows of appointed hour, which we always see for those who persist in vice, unlawful actions, unbelief, and sin. However, there is 100% probability that on condition they do not repent, they will receive the summons to either eternal annihilation or to permanent, dark, solitary confinement and eternal perdition. Certain news of this has been given by the 124,000 prophets, with their innumerable miracles which confirm them, and by the more than 124 million saints who see in their illuminations the traces and shadows as though an cinema screen, or what the prophets have told and put their signatures to it, affirming, affirming it, and by more than thousands of millions of investigative scholars, interpreters of the law, and veracious ones who, with decisive proofs and powerful arguments, prove according to reason and absolutely certainly the things told by those who eminent groups of mankind, and have set their signatures to them. The situation then of someone who does not heed the news given unanimously by the decrees of these three vast and elevated communities and groups of people of reality, who are the suns, moons, and stars of mankind, and the sacred leaders of humanity, and does not take the straight path which they have pointed out, and disregards the awesome 99% danger and abundance that they do to one person saying there is danger, and it takes another lengthy way. His situation is as follows: the wretch who since he has abandoned according to the certain news of innumerable well-informed observers the shortest and easiest of of the two ways which at 100% certainly will lead to paradise and eternal happiness, and has chosen the roughest, longest way, which is most fraught with difficulties, and is 99% certain to lead to in- incarceration in hell and everlasting misery, who leads to short way because, according to false information of a single informer, there is a 1% chance of danger and the possibility of month imprisonment, and chooses the long way, which is without benefit, just because it holds no danger, like drunken lunatics. Such a wretch has lost his humanity, mind, heart, and spirit to the extent that they ignores the terrible dragons which are seen from afar and are pestering him, and struggles against mo- mosquitoes, attaching importance to them alone. Since this is the reality of the situation, we prisoners should accept the gift of the school, blessed group, so that we avenge ourselves totally for this calamity of prison. That is to say, just at the pleasure of the minute's revenge, or minute, or two, or an hour of two, of vice or calamity, has put us in this prison for 15, 5, 10, or 2 or 3 years, and made our world into a prison. So to spite it, we should avenge ourselves on this calamity by transforming an hour or two of our prison lives into a day or two of worship, and our 2 or 3 year sentences through the gifts of the blessed group into 20 or 30 years of permanent life, and our prison sentences of 20 or 30 years into a means of being released from millions of years of incarceration in the dungeons of hell. In the face of transitory worlds, weeping they should make our everlastingly smile. We should show that prison is a place of training and education, and each of us try to well-behaved, reliable, useful members of our nation and country. These prison officers, administrators, and governors should see that the men they suppose to be criminals, bandits, liabouts, murderers, depraved and harmful to the country are students studying in the blessed place of instructions and should proudly offer thanks to God. The third topic. This is the summary of an instructive incident which is described in, in a guide for youth. One time, I was sitting by my window in Eskişehir prison during the Republic Festival. Opposite me, the older girls of the high school were laughing and dancing in the schoolyards. Suddenly their condition 50 years hence appeared to me as though on a cinema screen. I saw that of those 50 to 60 girl students, 40 to 50 had become earth in their graves and were suffering torments, while 10 were ugly 70 to 80 years old who were dispossessed where they might have expected to love because they did not preserve their chastity when young. This I observed with complete certainty, and I wept at their pitiable states. Some of my friends in the prison heard my weeping and come and asked me about it. I told them, leave me alone, for now I want to be alone. Yes, what I saw was reality, not imagination, such as summer and autumn are followed by winter to the summer of youth, and autumn of old age are followed by winter of grave and intermediate realm. If there were a cinema which showed the events of 50 years in the future, the same as those of 50 years ago are shown in the present, and people of misguidance and vice were to be shown their circumstances of 50 of 60 hands, they would weep the horror and disgust of their unlawful pleasures and those things at which they now laugh. We want to experience all the pleasures and joys of life and to make others experience them. Don't interfere with us. I replied, since you do not recall that or plunge yourselves into vice and misguidance for pleasure and enjoyment, you should certainly know that due to your misguidance all the past is dead and not existent. It is a desolate graveyard full of rotted bodies. The suffering arising from those innumerable separations and the eternal death of those numberless friends, inflicted on your head through the concerns of your humanity and your misguidance and your heart, if you have one and it is not that, will soon destroy your significant drunken pleasure of present. The future too due to your unbelief, is a non-existent black death and desolate wasteland, and since the head of unfortunates who appear from there, sticking them out into existence while stopping by in the present are struck off by the executioner's sword of a pointed arrow and thrown into non-existence. It continues to rain drawn, grievous worries, and your unbelieving had due to the concern of your intellect completely overturning your petty, dissolute pleasure. If you give up vice and misguidance and enter the sphere of certain affirmative belief and righteousness, you will see through the light of belief that the past is not an existent and graveyard that roots everything, but an existent light-filled world which is transformed into future and into waiting room for the important spirits who will enter places of bliss in the future. Since it appears thus, it affords not pain, but according to the strength of belief, a sort of paradisiacal pleasure. The future to appears to the eye of belief not as dark wasteland, but where banquets and exhibitions of gifts have been set up in the places of everlasting beliefs by the most merciful and compassionate one of the glory of bestowal, whose mercy and merciful and compassionate one of the glory of bestowal, whose mercy and munificence are infinite, and whose makes the spirit and summer into table laden with bounties, since the person observes is the cinema screen of belief, he knows he will be dispatched there. He may experience the pleasures of the eternal realm. All may do this according to their degree, that is to say, through pain-free pleasure is found only in belief in God and is possibly only through faith. Since it is related to our discussions, we shall explain here by means of a comparison that is included in a guide of youth as a footnote one single benefit and pleasure out of thousands that belief produce in the world too, as it as follows. For example, your beloved only child is suffering the pangs of death, and you are thinking desperately that you will be eternally parted from him when suddenly a doctor like Keter or Lagman device arise with a wondrous medicine. Your lovable child open his eyes delivered from death. You can understand what joy and happiness it will give you. Now, like child, millions of people whom you earnestly love and are concerned for are, in your view, rotting in the graveyard of the past and are about to annihilate it when suddenly the reality of the belief, like Lookman the Wise, shines light from the window of earth onto the graveyard, which is imagined to be the vast place of execution, though it, all the dead spring to life, and their declaring through the tongue of disposition, we did not die, and shall not die, we shall meet with you again. You feel an endless joy, which belief gives is this virtue. This proves that belief in God is a seed that, if embodied, would give rise a private paradise, becoming the two tree of that seed. I told the collective personality this, but in its stubbornness, at least we can live like animals, passing our lives in pleasure and enjoyment and indulging in amusement and dissipation and not thinking about these difficult matters. I told it by way of an answer. You cannot be like an animal, for animals have no past and future. They feel neither sorrows or regrets at the past, nor anxiety and fear at the future. An animal experiences perfect pleasure. It sleeps and rises and thanks its creator. One held down to be slaughtered even does not feel anything. It wants to feel it as the knife cuts, but that feeling disappears as well. It is saved from the pain. Means that that unseen, not being made known, and things that will befall us being waste is a great instance of divine mercy and compassion. This is more complete for into sense animals. But, O man, your past and future merge from the unseen to an extent because of your reason, so you are entirely deprived of animals' lack of concerns due to the unseen being concealed from the regrets and painful separation coming from the past, and the anxieties coming from the future reduce to nothing your insignificant pleasure. They make it 100 times less than that which animals receive. Since the reality is this, either throw away your intellect and become an animal and be saved, or come to your senses through belief, listen to the Quran, and receive pure pleasure 100 times greater than that of animals in this transitory world too. Saying this, I silenced it. But that obdurate, obdurate collective personality still turned to me and said, "At least we can live like those Westerners who are without religions." I replied, "You cannot be like the irreligious people or Europe either, for even they deny one prophet, they can believe in the others. If they do not know the prophets, they may believe in God. And even if they do not know God, they may possess personal qualities by virtue of which they find fulfillment. But if a Muslim denies the Prophet of the end of time, who was final the greatest of the prophets and whose religion and cause are universal, and if the abundance is religion, we will accept to no other prophet and perhaps not even God, for the knows all prophets and God and all perfections through the prophet of the end of the time. The other can have no place in the heart without him. It is for this reason that since early times people have entered Islam from all other religions, but no Muslim has become a true Jew, Magian, or Christian. Muslim, Muslims have abandoned their religion, become irreligious, their characters are corrupted, and they become harmful for the country and nation. I proved this, and ob- obstinate collective personality could find no further through the church at, so it vanished and went to hell. My friends, who are studying together with me in this school of Joseph, since the reality is this and the Risale-i Nur proves it as clearly and decisively as sunlight. For 20 years it has broken the obstinacy of the obdurate and induced them to believe. We should therefore follow the way of belief and right conduct which is easy and safe and beneficial for both our own worlds and our future and our lives in the hereafter and our country and nation, and spend our free time reciting the surahs of Quran that we know instead of indulging in distressing fancies, and learn to meaning from friends who teach them, and make up for the prayers we have failed to perform in the past, when we should have done, and taking advantage of one another's good qualities, transform this prison into blessed garden, raising the seedlings of good character. With good deeds like these, we should do our best to make the prison governor and those concerned not torturous, like the angels, and hell standing, or criminals and murderers, but righteous masters and kindly guard charged with the duties of raising people for paradise in the school of Joseph and supervising their training and education.